In attribution of European talents, I've run with this before on different occasions, and many of you, I'm sure, who have graced my coverage before and are familiarized with my comments on the European scene would also regard and probably agree with said sentiments from me. I tend to find very individualized presentations, and it's the individuality and distinctions among the different groups I consult that linger in my mind. WARKINGS is that. I think the mythological approach to their work, given the specific characterization of part of their members in surrounding being Morgana Le Fay, and then with the other entities, the Viking, the Spartan, the Crusader, the Tribune, though the Morgana character did not appear in the last video, and she is a regard, as I understand, to present group offerings. And maybe we'll get to more of WARKINGS eventually in terms of their particular projects. I'm looking at a couple of their collaborative works, and so far just 2 tracks to balance out. Maybe eventually we'll broaden that out a bit. I truly appreciate, again, like I said, the individuality of European talents, and if you've not humored the scene before, you are missing out. But you're maybe enjoying it with me, especially on first introductions, and I love having that opportunity if that can be provided with new listeners. If you're somebody that is looking for new talent and you might not necessarily know where to look, let's enjoy talent together, and thus I'm paving routes for you, if allowed, to find talents that are going to be long-time favorites. You know, and on this channel, there's not been an artist I've covered that I've not liked. And WARKINGS on a first introduction with Odin's Sons certainly fit. Again, I love the individual presence of part of the myth side and the illustration on part of the members. I thought it was very unique in character. Kind of reminiscent, at least maybe, to some of our ventures in, as I said, other European personalities, notably Feuerschwangs. I would apply the same regard as well in terms of characterization. And especially on, like, mythological feel. At least I'm still kind of earlier on in consulting their work, but there's a similar connection to Fred between. But mainstay elements that also, I think, by comparison to other groups, I knew I'd like going in with WARKINGS. The power metal energy certainly appeals to me as somebody who is more of an aggressive metal type guy. The heavy emphasis on in terms of atmosphere as well. There's a real broad and vast perspective to the feel of their music. And mainstay presences in terms of collaborative artists, being in other ventures of her alter ego, Melissa Bonney, as some of you know, but here, the Queen of the Damned. And she graced us with a wonderful presence on the last song, so I'm excited to hear where SPARTA goes in direction. And it went into the heavier side of what she's capable of. I mean, she's got a magnificent growl if you've never humored the Queen before. She's an incredible listen, whether it be through Dark Side of the Moon or Ad Infinitum, through other collaborative work with Mortimia, Feuerschwangs. I haven't consulted Feuerschwangs' collaborative works yet. I'm going to pretty soon. But also a Hero. I just looked at them last night with a Monster song. I mean, she's known by her other alter ego there. So if you're not familiarized to her, you know, search under Melissa. Her earthly name, I guess. I don't know. But here she's the queen, and she certainly deserves that title, in my opinion, especially among the artists I've kept in the back of my mind on the female vocalist side who can scream, who have that range. And it's a bit of a limited number. I'm still broadening that out, perhaps, of other talents I've yet to discover, but the queen is very notable in my mind in that attribution. So let's humor more with WARKINGS, and maybe, as I said, in the future going forward, I'll look at more of their efforts as well. But for now, just 2 tracks, so I can, again, keep a bit of a diplomatic perspective with the number of recommendations many of you provided to me, especially on the grounds of first introductions. And there's a sweeping supply. I'm, God willing, looking for every single one with time. And right now, it's WARKINGS. Maybe that'll evolve in the future, but just with 2 songs, I'll be giving a good sample on part of spotlighting, yet again, the Queen's efforts on this channel with SPARTA. I'm going to go ahead and cue up the song. We're getting an introduction for that ourselves in a minute together. First listen. And if you're somebody that's not familiarized with how I format my coverage here in terms of music focused content, I do try and accommodate listeners' taste to the best extent that I can. So if you'd like to read along with the myth, or maybe myth's the wrong word, the tale of SPARTA, I will have that featured in the video on part of the bottom of the screen, and the lyrics will transition with the song as we go through it together for the first time. It's a shorter song, too, than the last song, and only, well, it's shortly under 4 minutes, but I'm sure it'll be a fun ride either way. Okay, they quickened the pace, and it's more accelerated here with the power metal structure, okay? So they can hit a number of ranges. Like the last song I said, it was slower in pacing, more emboldened in presence. This may be a good mix, but it's got that faster speed.
Only the man will hold this place subdued against the empire of government's throne. Horse faithful battle and we die aloud. Tonight we will dine in hell. Tonight we will make town.
The tribune's vocals here really impressed me, especially on mix of the Queen. But his pitch really impresses me. Especially that line, "We'll dine in hell," the vibrations of the focus of the notes. Good. Quite satisfactory. I like how the Queen's pitch here is a little more pierced. It's narrow on a higher energy, slightly strained, I think. It's a bit different than her alter ego's appearances in other musical endeavors. Even the last song. Nice place for a riff. Good key choices on that. Wonderful palette in terms of a listen. In my opinion, Odin's Sons was good. This is the stronger of the two. A lot of nice combinations here in terms of elements. Again, a background vocal orchestration, especially in part of increasing from one singer to multiple voices overlapped, adds a very nice dimension. I was going to say, they're going to have to hit the closure at some point. That worked. Especially since it was off in pacing. I like that a lot. I'm going to call them... at least in my mind, this is maybe how I'll help remember them, at least in some recognition on their individuality. The costumes are very interesting. Certainly blended into the roles of the artist. I'm going to call them the European Slipknot. At least in regards what it reminds me of, at least with I'm not even the biggest Slipknot fan. I haven't ventured into them on a deep level, but I've heard maybe a couple songs I've liked. I'm very familiar with Corey Taylor as a vocalist, and he's impressed me so much, and some of his collaborative work in part. Anyway, Slipknot is a very specific personality in regards to the way that they illustrate themselves as well, with costumes, and it's very figurative. WARKINGS is the same, just of the mythological variety. Like mythological / historical and cultural. It's impressive, though. Again, I love the personality here. Again, European talents, this is a mainstay that I'm recognizing over time. It's a significant factor. And the presence on Sparta, again, as good as I thought Odin's Sons was as a first introduction, the faster pace here mixed with, I think, very creative choices on part of the vocal orchestration, especially in the background, a part of a layered set. I don't know if I was just maybe on on the lead vocalist, the Tribune, or part of the other roles, whether it be the Spartan, the Crusader, or the Viking. Maybe it's just overlapped on part of the Tribune in editing. I don't know, but it was maybe. Well, it sounded like male voices. I don't think the Queen overlapped here on that, but that was a nice accompaniment, especially bringing that in as a follow-up to a well-integrated riff, in my opinion, with a very nice, individualized, that's a key word here, at least in this video, review of the song. The pause placement for that was great, and I felt that the adventurism of the range in the inclinations of the notes worked very well, especially for the momentum of Sparta, which has, again, as I said, this is grand in presentation and I would say integration of different elements mixed with the faster power metal structure of what I've come to really like recently. And power metal, as I said, particularly relevant in the time we're looking at music, given that I just spent a substantial amount of time consulting Frozen Crown's work, Italian power metal, if you're not familiar, and I highly recommend them. Very different from WARKINGS, but they've got the faster pace mixed with, I think, the emphasis that makes them a very adept talent, just like WARKINGS in the power metal scene. And of course, the Queen of the Damned, as always. Wonderful to humor her talents, especially on the screaming range. It's just excellent to hear that emphasis. And mixed with the lead vocalist here on part of the Tribune's vocals, great integration on part of both. Especially when they overlap on the screens, like when they're going Sparta, like that worked so well for me. I kind of like this feeling where I might as well be, I'm not European by birth, but I might as well be in terms of immersion. I've spent so much time in this atmosphere, and I love the music in that realm. Yes, again, as I said, geographically speaking, there's talents abroad, and I've recognized many different countries, and I've been given recommendations from many of you in terms of other countries to spotlight at some point that we haven't happened upon yet. Presently, it's just been Europe, America, South America, and New Zealand, but as I said of Europe, I get in this mode where I'm like, I love recognizing new talents, and by the time I finish, I don't want to leave. I really don't want to stop recognizing them because they're just so much fun to entertain, especially on perhaps first introductions, not just for myself, but I'm sure for many of you. And I'd love to hear, again, if you wish to disclose this perspective down below, whatever your angle of approach is. Are you a longtime favorite of WARKINGS even before I've happened upon them? Or maybe this video was a first introduction to you. Maybe you didn't even know about WARKINGS, until you saw their name pop up. I'd love to hear, perhaps, again, as I said, your thoughts on, of course, where you approach, but your thoughts on the piece. I think, as I said, in connection to Odin's Sons, because this follows along the more aggressive path, and the characterization of the song, this is the more triumphant of the two. But I still like Odin's Sons. Again, I think the presence there was great as well. It's very similar and part of its mainstay elements with WARKINGS. I just like this fresh energy that I see in originality and vision with WARKINGS that makes them a very specified talent in my mind. And Sparta, I feel, best illustrates those elements in full prominence and in very cohesive integration of one another in how every element works to a track's benefit. Not just lyrically, again, speaking in terms of the narrative construction, it is very European. It does have that myth integration in part, but it feels emboldened, especially on the Sparta verses. I still love that. But the pacing of it is effective. The craftsmanship, again, as I said, in terms of the layered orchestral vocal side, love that, especially mixed with that riff pause. And the overall structure in terms of the faster pace. Sparta easily gels. Loved it as a piece. Wonderful work. Thank you so much for watching this video. Before you bounce, feel free to drop a like and comment, subscribe to this channel with a ding on the bell, and share this video with your friends. And consider checking out the description here. There you'll find links to my other channels, as well as addresses to my other social media accounts and ways you can help support my work if you feel so inclined. May God bless you, and looking forward to when our paths cross again.